old pro.
Let's just say experienced pro.
Oh,
It's okay. It's,
We'll need to change the
Correct,
approval of the minutes to what we'll need to.
You showed her. Okay.
Shall I call the order?
Mhm.
Okay. I guess I'm ready.
All right.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Here.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
here,
Vice Chair Hughes,
Here,
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Pago,
here.
Chairman Skolnick.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Here.
Should I also read Commissioner Brown, who's excused, I'm sorry. Commissioner Leary. Thank you.
Next, we'll move to approval of the agenda.
so moved.
Support. Come on.
Is there any discussion on the minute? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
here, I mean, yes,
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes,
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes,
Chairman Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes. Next item is approval of minutes of January 13th,
22.
2022. Yes.
so moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion on the approval of the minutes? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
yes,
Vice Chair Hughes.
Yes,
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
yes,
Chairman Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer.
Yes.
We'll move on to informational items.
Not sure what.
Okay. Any public comment?
none of mine.
It appears that we have public comment. We'll move on next to the items for consideration. Is Mr. Lucas here?
yes, he's here.
Okay. This motion is to approve a 3-year contract with CNS engineers to provide project engineering services in support of the Muskegon County Airport Improvement Program with 2 1-year options and authorize the board chair to sign the contract. Support. There any discussion? Yes.
yeah, this is for Mr. So in looking at the fee schedule, there's an hourly rate for different people, and then there's a per diem, and then there's mileage. Do they get the per diem and the hourly rate?
I think the fee schedule you're looking at is the one for additional services. It's an agreement in the contract that outlines the costs for additional services that may be needed for projects that aren't involved in the airport capital improvement plan. The projects in the capital improvement plan are already budgeted out. But this would be for
And
any.
it's a pay-as-you-go as
Yes.
we have a project, okay. All right, so this is for anything outside of that. Oh,
Original scope
I
of
guess I
work.
wasn't clear about that, thank you.
Wilson had a question too. Bob,
Yes.
will any of those things come back before us before we move forward on this?
If they are under 24,999,
Okay, okay.
we have the ability to approve those and move them forward. But if it's anything over that, it'll come back to the board.
Thank you very much.
How many times are they gonna be allowed to do that at that amount?
Well,
I mean, you could,
I think during
billing
the
that
last
whole amount.
contract, we had one project that we did. It was for design of a bathroom, a family restroom beyond the secure area. So that project has been designed, it's ready to go.
is this someone we did business with before where they're not gonna take advantage of that?
Yes, it's CNS, it's the same company.
And we have Bob to blame if they do.
That's what I'm here for.
Where, what fund source? What's the source of the funds to pay for those?
The ACIP, the projects that are included in the capital improvement plan are paid for by the county. I'm sorry, by the feds, but there is a match for the county. It's typically, anywhere from a few hundred to a couple $1,000s, that match for the engineering services. This funding for the extra services would come from the airport budget.
From the airport budget, but
Yes.
specifically, where would the actual money, like, is it gonna come from the ARPA money, or is it,
Let me bring Joel up here. He may
That's
be-
Mark, I don't know.
Joel Burgess from the airport.
Okay,
I'm Joel Burgess, Airport Manager. It just depends on the project. Most projects, smaller capital projects at the airport will be included in the budget, and that budget amount will be inclusive of design, construction, and any consultant services that we have. So it's no additional money outside of what we programmed into the budget.
May I also add that the airport also is getting their own ARPA funds versus what we got.
right, that's what I'm trying to find out, is ARPA money gonna pay for this, or is it the general money separately from that? Was this started before the ARPA money came? That's what, because,
Sure. So again, there's two pieces to this agreement. There's the capital improvement program piece where CNS will help us with those funds. Those are entitlement and discretionary funds typically that we get from the FAA. Could be ARPA, CRISA, the federal infrastructure bill that was just approved. Those could be pieces of the construction budget. Yes.
so we're not sure.
Not
If
at
it
this
will be
point.
or not.
Any projects that haven't been identified to this point, again, it's a 3-year agreement with an option behind that. So if we identify projects in the interim that CNS will help us with, ARPA or CARES Act funding could be included in that, yes.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether it's you or the, this company is from Livonian. So is part of the contract that is the transportation included in this? In the agreement, or is it?
It is included, yes. So their fee for service does include their transportation to and from the airport. One thing to note, the prime engineer with CNS is actually from Muskegon. She knows the area very well. She knows the airport very well. She's familiar with the area.
All right. Well, I was just concerned about the added cost of transportation.
Joel, this CNS Engineering, they're doing other airports. Do they
They do, yes.
specialize in airports?
That is one of their specialties, yes. They actually work with several airports in Michigan.
Mr. Nash?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment because, I mean, we're not really, these projects are really not our money. We're not really spending any money. We've got to match pieces, maybe 5–10% or whatever it is. And all that money comes from the federal government. So it's really, it's budgeted, it's usually projected. They already know what it's cost. So it's not something we typically have to worry about. It's usually, we just need to worry about what we need to do to modify the airport to make it more usable, by consumers.
Correct. And yeah, I would point out one thing too. I know the cost, you don't see the costs in the prime contract here. They provide us a cost per project and how that's backed up. Actually, they will give us a cost. The sponsor, the airport, is responsible to go out and get an independent fee estimate from another engineer. If that estimate is outside of 10% what CNS has given us as a proposal, we need to go back and negotiate. So there is a great deal of checks and balances in there as well.
Are there any other comments? Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
No,
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes,
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes.
motion carries. We'll move on to item B. Move to authorize staff to continue participating in West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Mission, WMSDEC, and SRF in developing a transit authority model for the Muskegon County. Develop a framework for the transit services and prepare a roadmap for future Muskegon County Transit Authority.
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion?
Not yet, I do have a question.
Yes.
Bob, is this, we're going to get rid of the idea of merging with Harbor Transit and move forward as an authority, correct?
Yes, that's what was discussed at the meeting.
That's what I thought, so I just wanted to make sure.
Say that again. Are they not interested in?
They're not interested.
At this time.
We're
In
gonna
the
stop
future,
our,
It could
yeah,
happen
we're not gonna move forward with Harbor Transit. They're not interested in merging with us.
at this time.
The regional. Remember,
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Aaron.
We might be
I
able
was just going to bring Aaron up.
That's not what I heard.
That's not
You
what
were
was
wrong.
said, was it? Aaron?
No.
No,
No.
I would not at all say that. This is Erin Kuhn, Executive Director of the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission. The studies so far revealed that the Harbor Transit at this point, we looked at their existing structure, the Muskegon Area Transit existing structure, and then merging the two. At this point, a full merger is there's too many differences between the two organizations structurally to move that. It would take a long time to have that happen. So the recommendation was to have Muskegon County move forward with creating an authority, and that would make the two organizations more similar so that in the future they could potentially merge if the desire was there. It moves one step
Prepares
more
the
into
way.
that
Yeah.
direction. But I would not say that they're not interested.
Because I got the impression that they said we weren't financially stable enough. And that
Well, we
they-
aren't.
Right, we're not, you know.
Right, but I wouldn't say that Harbor Transit wasn't interested in it.
Oh, yeah, if things had worked out better, they would have, but right now, we're definitely not in any shape to do that.
Well, and the organizations are very different.
Yeah.
They have a millage. We have, it's owned and operated by the county. The way the employees are, there's a unionized and
Right,
MAPS.
and non-union.
Harbor Transit is not. Harbor Transit is a on-demand service.
Yeah.
Muskegon County MAPS is a route plus
Mhm.
on-demand. So those differences make it very difficult to merge at this time.
If I could ask, I'm gonna address this to Aaron. Muskegon is more of an urban model than that system, and theirs is not even close. I mean, it's on demand, it's more residential, there's not really a large urban core like we have.
But we're just talking Harbor Transit, just the small one, not the big one in Grand Haven.
Well, Harbor Transit does serve northern Ottawa County, Grand
There's
Haven.
no bus system.
And
But it's not the big bus system there in Grand Haven, correct? It's just
That they don't, as far as I know, they don't have a
Okay.
bus
That's the only
system.
one.
And
because I know there's
I
Spring
mean,
Lake.
that's their transportation.
No, I know, that's what I'm.
You might be
getting at.
referring to
Different
Holland.
kinds of
Oh, yeah,
systems.
we are definitely two different systems.
Are there any other questions?
I do have some handouts that I would be happy to share. I'm going to take one of each before, so just in case I can reference it. One is a synopsis of, a two-page synopsis of what's happened to date with the study and the findings. And the other one is kind of a next steps. It's a 3-pager, kind of outlining where we can go from here. And what we will be doing after this meeting today with our consultant SRF is setting up a meeting by the end of this month, bringing in, and this will be specifically, well, it'll be regional, so it'll include representatives from Northern Ottawa County and Harbor Transit, as well as throughout Muskegon County, the jurisdictions and stakeholders to talk about next steps, findings. Right now, there's been only 2 presentations of the findings so far, one to the Transportation Policy Committee meeting and one to the Muskegon County Board. So we want to bring the findings broader than those groups, have a discussion, and then really start moving forward with those jurisdictions within Muskegon County that could potentially be part of an authority.
Are there any other questions there? Yes.
How long do you think this process of moving towards an authority will take?
It's really hard to say. Right on the blue one here, that final, or the final page there has a general timeline. And that includes our contract with SRF, our consultant. So that takes us through August and September. It very well might take longer than that. At this point, that will get us ready. And it really just depends on how this is defined, what the geographic area of an authority would be, what jurisdictions want to be included in that, what jurisdictions don't want to be included in that, and then the organizational structure, how that authority will be funded, and if that has to go to a levy to each of the jurisdictions, how will that be written? And then it would have to go to a vote. So that could take a long time to happen. But SRF is here with us for a little while here to help us get that structure, answer those tough questions, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll know where we're going to get something set up.
Can you explain SRF?
SRF is our consultant. That's the name of their consulting firm. Does that answer your question?
I can read that, but can you be more specific?
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Probably their names. or
That's
something.
the name, just like
So-
a consultant for like Prine and Newhoff is an engineering
So,
firm. That's
right,
the name of
okay.
their firm.
So I guess why do we have you and them? Why can't we just have one? And then my second question is, what is the cost of all of this? There's no cost anywhere listed on this motion.
I think last year when the board decided to contract with Windsor Dick to go out for an RFQ because there was a regional interest. And Windsor Dick represents them as well as us on road transportation. So it made sense for Windsor Dick to be the one to apply for the grant. They were awarded the grant. So they're the ones who have the money to see this through.
Right.
Yeah, so
So
we-
is the funding continuing through the same grant that you already
Yes.
applied for?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's no additional,
No,
that's okay.
And there's no
Thank you.
cost to us, the county. Yeah.
no, zero cost to the county.
It just
The-
says
the-
budgeted, no partially budgeted, so I
Understand.
thank you.
Yep, yep.
No, I wanted to say that Windsor Dick also has the expertise to do this in a third party. But just so I got this right, if the participating municipalities, which would be at least 3 or at least probably 4, right?
Yeah,
If somebody-
potentially, yeah.
If somebody, then they would need to go out for a millage. So
Some other way.
there's a lot of stumbling blocks. in the way.
Absolutely. This is not an easy road ahead.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of discussions, a lot of, how is this gonna happen? What if scenarios are going to have to be laid out? For example, if we do go out for, our communities decide that they want to go out for a millage, what happens if it passes in all but one? Or it only passes in one and none of the other? What are those what if scenarios? And all of that is really going to have to be hashed out. And that's why we hired a consultant. They're transit experts. We are not transit
Okay,
experts.
that answers
Okay,
my question.
good,
Where do
good.
these people fit in their
So,
lives?
yeah, we're not transit experts. We help run the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization. But that's why we hired them as a consultant. So they know what questions to ask that we might not, and what stumbling blocks and what if scenarios need to be addressed.
I don't know if you have any answer to this or not, but the money that's running the bus system now was sort of self-sufficient up until not too many years ago. So is there enough federal and state money to run that thing without a millage? I mean, could we modify, like, that's what we're doing right now, we're trying to do, right?
That's a question for Matt. That I don't know. I know from the work session when Jim Coons was going through the finances of Matt's, I do remember him having a comment saying that, going forward, there is not enough federal funding to fund Matt's moving forward once all of the stimulus dollars are gone.
Jim is online. If you wanna
Yes, thank you.
unmute Jim.
Jim is online, but I wanted to say that there is funding available through mid-2023 for MATS, from the feds and the state.
It's gonna take that long to figure this out.
So
Probably.
it could. Jim's on the line if there are any questions for him.
If I could just add one thing, like, in the two biggest communities would be likely Muskegon and North Shores, I would think, that would have to help fund it. And the use of that, listen, I think we need public transit, but I don't know if North Shores can go for that or not, because there's not much use of it. There's something, probably some demand, but not a lot.
Well, and that's something that we'll have to discuss moving forward, and that's what this next meeting will start taking those steps forward to asking those questions and answering those questions as well.
Commissioner Pego?
So I'm really gonna stress this. So your funding that, for you guys, for Windsor Deck is through that grant. I'm gonna assume it also is for SRF.
Correct.
Because you
It's the same,
contracted
yeah.
them, so so there's no additional anything from the county.
Correct. The county didn't put money
Okay,
into this.
I just
And
wanted
neither did
to,
Windsor Dick.
I just wanted to
It's
make sure.
mostly federal and state funds. It's all federal.
The other question is, I see Jim Coons was on the line. Is he still on the line? There he is. Can I ask Jim a question?
Sure.
Jim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm
Jim,
here.
can you
Go ahead.
hear us? Are you
Yes.
able to speak?
I should be unmuted now.
I cannot hear you if you're speaking.
It's like he's on mute.
He's unmuted, but can't you-
Did we do the exit?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I'm here. Go ahead with the question.
We can move on. and
Apparently, yeah,
be able to
apparently it's
figure it
not
out, yeah.
Are there any other questions, Baron?
What's that? Oh,
I can take your question and get it on to Jim and get you an answer.
okay, so at the last meeting that Jim, I think, was in this room, not at the transit center. I think it was in this room. It may have been there. I don't remember. Forgive me. I'd have to look back at my notes, but he said he was having a staffing shortage, like a dangerously alarming staffing shortage at this point. And he wasn't even sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, like how long the transportation is even going to be able to go unless he finds, you know.
We
So
have
how-
staff available to roll out every day. We haven't missed a day.
Okay,
There is staff available there for the fixed routes and for the ADA service and the go-to service. So we do have staff. It's tight, but we do have staff.
okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Nash?
I just wanted to reflect a little bit. I'm not as concerned about our budget, especially now that we've redesigned our system. A lot of us have to remember, I think it was the commissioner's decision to do this expansion that really cost the bus system. And this was done years ago. Because I remember when we first got on, because Commissioner Gill and I worked to try to get expanded times, and that was in the inner city. But I think there were some other commissioners that kind of envied that service because it began to be very good for the inner city. And so they wanted to expand it. And so they wanted to expand it to other areas, but not taking in consideration, when you expand that system, you also demanded to put the ADA system in place too. And not only was it not enough traffic going back and forth, but we also had that ADA service that we had to provide that we really didn't plan for. So I think it was just too many years of that. Even when the money ran out, we tried to keep it going, and it was just milking us dry. And now that we've gotten back to that core area where we're at, I'm not as concerned about it as much now, except for, where we do have it, we do have to make sure that it works well, and it works well for people to make it worthwhile. But I do believe that we've got the funds to be able to take care of that. But it was, I think, a board mistake to expand that when we did, and it went way too long. And now that we're getting back to where we were, where we're supposed to be, is starting to settle in. And thanks to the ARP funds, it's really helping us settle in. So I think we're going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be as urgent as it has been.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
What happens if we don't move forward with this? Then what? Then we just don't move to an authority? It stays the same?
Yeah, that most likely can at least slow it down.
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes.
Vice Chair Hughes.
Yes,
Motion carried. We'll move on to TR 2-202. This is a new business.
no, that's the one we just did.
Yeah, we just did that.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business.
Oh, all right. Do we have any unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Is there anybody?
I do have a new business.
Mr. Hughes?
This is kind of new business and unfinished business. But I was talking to somebody the other day and they said that when we put the new Veterans Center out on Apple Avenue, that's going to require public transportation. So there may come some funding with that to get our veterans out to that service center. So I've talked to Mark, he's going to look into that and see if that, down the road, if that's, if that, there's any way
You
that
said
we can,
Apple Avenue?
what?
No, it's out by the airport.
Right now it's out there, but it's moving.
Oh, it is?
You said Apple?
Apple.
Well.
It's moving out on Apple and Dangle. Dangle or
Oh,
Brooks.
wow.
Yeah, right across where
Another
the, where the
far out
school
place.
is.
Right.
Why are they
Moving on that
moving?
corner.
They want a new building,
They
bigger
want-
building.
And they want a building that they can do a lot more in than they can do right now. And they said that one of the problems that they have is getting people to the Veterans Center.
Yeah.
So that will make a really good place for public transportation. So with that may come a grant or something to, so we're hoping to maybe move forward in that
But
area
that
too.
location
Because right
is-
now, we don't have bus service out there
When is
To the
that
airport.
proposed, Susie? That's
Or
not
to the
for.
Dangle.
to Dangle. It's on Apple. It's right where that Orchard View Adult Education
Oh,
School
maybe
is.
we could just get the
It's on-
township to join in.
Township does not want anything to do with it. They actually do have service out there, but we have 2 apartment complexes out there and they pay that.
Yeah.
So otherwise.
Is there any possibility of a discussion with the Veterans Administration about moving to Bayfront campus?
About moving.
That's what
They
I was-
already, they just bought that property.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking,
That's a good
because
idea.
if, assume we move ahead with Baker, that medical, I don't know, that whole medical facility, that the
There's
building
lots of
is brand new, and
Right.
big.
yeah, I mentioned that to Mike back in December and he was gonna check. So I'll see what they told me. But we asked that question.
There's public transportation there.
That's what I was thinking too.
Veterans.
And there's a lot of.
Right, I'm like, oh, we going way out there.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a federal thing,
I just,
but that's a good idea.
Yeah, we. I
Because
asked Mike
transportation
check
is
it out,
already
find out
there.
what the answer was.
we already got transportation going there.
That's the whole.
Any other discussion?
Susie, when is that supposed to happen? That's not for.
Next year, I think.
Is it next year?
But you didn't make a motion or anything, right?
No,
You
I just was.
No, I was just
educating,
asking.
and I was kind of, just wanted us to be aware that hopefully that will, ease some of our situation with maintenance. Hoping.
Is there any other new business? Have any public comment?
Nobody online.
Are there any final board comments? We are adjourned.
All right. Here
Nice
we
to
go.
see you, Zach.
You know how easy that was?
Get your trailer loaded.
We gotta.